First of all, revolutionary greetings to all comrades present here of STFI. And I have been asked that a lot of comrades already from the dais have spoken in Hindi. So I try to speak in English and Hindi. मैं bilingually बात करने की कोशिश करूँगी. जो हमारी बात है कि यहाँ पे बहुत सारे कॉमरेड्स हैं जो बाकी वर्नाकुलर लैंग्वेजेस से आते हैं जो हिंदी नहीं समझते हैं, तो हम हिंदी और अंग्रेज़ी दोनों का भाषाओं का उपयोग करके आज की जो हमारी बात है उसको आप तक पहुँचाने की कोशिश करेंगे. सबसे पहले बहुत बहुत लाल सलाम, क्रांतिकारी अभिनंदन, लाल जय भीम, लाल सलाम सभी तमाम कॉमरेड्स को जो यहाँ पे प्रेजेंट है, आज यहाँ पे मौजूद है. And we all know that we are going through an unprecedented times. It's not that the attack on the school education, it's not that the attack on higher education, because I have been asked specifically to speak on higher education, that it's happening today. We know, if we see the history of this country, if we see the history of higher education in this country, we have continuously seen, there have been times, there have been phases in this country when formulation policies about higher education has been made. We have seen how corporate nexus has time and again come. But we have also seen that how movements within this country, the citizens, the civil society unitedly has shaped that how the education policy of this country will be. And that is where in the last 75 years of the independence of this country, we saw before that, before the independence, that in the colonized period, when the Britishers used to frame the education policy, it had a thought process behind it. जो अंग्रेज़ों के समय पे जो शिक्षा नीति बनाए जाते थे इस देश के लिए, तब ऑब्वियसली एक स्वाधीन देश हमारे पास नहीं था, एक कॉलोनियल देश था, अंग्रेज़ों का राज था, और उनके समय पे जो शिक्षा नीति थे वो उनके आधार पे बनाए जाते थे. And we know that the education system at that moment were majorly to address the issues, address the concerns of the Britishers. But when India got independence in 1947, what was very clear from the constitution, what was very clear from the agenda of this country, that we need to have an inclusive education policy. We need to have an education policy to uplift the majority of the citizens of this country, and so that education can reach to the very last person in this country. And with that idea, when education policies were framed in the past 75 years, it was kept in mind that the work of education is not only to give mere a degree. The work of education inside this country will not be only to distribute certificates to people to have degrees of MA, BA or graduation, post-graduation. But education will also uplift the society. The education that we get will also uplift individuals, the thought process of individuals, the scientific, rational thinking of individuals. And that is where we saw during the British era, the maximum of the majority of the population was put into darkness. When we talk about darkness, we didn't mean, we are not meaning that they were just put out of, but they were kept away from education. Why was majority of the population kept out of education? Because education was an empowering tool. Education is an empowering tool. When Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar said that education is one of the most important thing, he meant that if you have to uplift the majority of the population, if you have to uplift the downtrodden, if you have to uplift the marginalized community inside this country, if you have to give them power, then education will be the tool. And that exactly after the independence, it was clearly drafted, it was clearly through our policies was coming into light. But what we saw post 1990s, when economic policies of this country started changing, we saw that the corporate nexus inside the educational spaces started increasing. And this didn't happen suddenly. Across the globe, we saw that how the World Trade Organizations, how the GATT, later known as the World Trade Organization, started playing a major role. We saw how market told that education will no longer be a subject where people or the citizens or the governments in particular countries can decide how the formulation will be. But it will not be the states, but the markets outside the states who will be controlling education, who will say what you need to read, who will say what you need to learn, who will say that what is important for market. And exactly, we as disciples of the market will be doing as the market says. And post 1990s, we saw exactly in the country. बहुत लोगों ने अंबानी जो रिपोर्ट है वो आप लोगों ने पढ़ा होगा. You guys have, I'm sure, would have gone through the Ambani report, Birla Ambani report, which exactly says exactly in our country the same thing, that how education has to be used or seen as a market commodity. Education has to be seen as a market commodity which has to be sold to the people. And that is exactly post 1990s. We saw that majority of the movement started talking about that how education can't be sold, education should be a fundamental right for the people. हम ये बोल रहे हैं कि देश के अंदर जो शिक्षा नीति है वो तमाम सारे समय से बदलते आया है, और सबसे ज़्यादा अगर कठिन समय जो शुरू हुआ है शिक्षा के क्षेत्र में अगर हम देखें तो 1990s के बाद से जिस तरीके से निजीकरण को लाया गया है, बिरला अंबानी रिपोर्ट आप लोगों ने देखा होगा कि किस तरीके से हमारे देश के अंदर भी इस बात को बार बार अंडरलाइन करता है कि जो शिक्षा है उसका बाजारीकरण की बात, जो शिक्षा है उसको किस तरीके से बेचना है मार्केट. और हम लोगों ने कंटिन्यूअसली इस बात को देखा कि किस तरीके से हर दिन इस देश के अंदर हो, इस पूरे ग्लोबल ऑर्डर पे हो, हमें बताया जा रहा है कि आप क्या पढ़ेंगे, आपको क्या पढ़ाया जाएगा, आपका डिग्री कैसा होगा, आप क्या टॉपिक लेंगे, आपकी शिक्षा के अंदर करिकुलम कैसे होगा, ये सारा चीज़ मार्केट डिसाइड करेगा. एंड एग्जैक्टली व्हेन 34 years ago ये शिक्षा नीति का ड्राफ्ट जब आया, उससे पहले जब 34 साल पहले एक शिक्षा नीति था, तो हम सबको ये अपेक्षा रख रहे थे 2019 में जब ड्राफ्ट पॉलिसी आ रहा था, when the draft national education policy, new education policy was coming, every one of us obviously wanted a new education policy. But what did we want in the name of new education policy? What did we want in the name of a national education policy? We wanted a review of the 34 years. We wanted a concrete review of those last 34 years, that as a country, what in the last 34 years we have proceeded, what difficulties, what are the challenges that we face, what improvement we could do. But what we saw when the draft was proposed in front of us as a country, what we saw as the education sector, what proposal did the draft give us? The draft gave a proposal where it was totally talking about commercializing education, about putting a central structure to the education, dismantling the federal structure of education, and also it gives ways that growingly communal aspects within the education can be brought into place. And that is why post 2019 already, if we see campus spaces, because a lot of comrades have already spoken about this, we saw how movement started building up because the impact on higher education was largely already seen. Post 1990s, we saw mushrooming of private colleges. NOC has been given to private colleges without even thinking of the quality of education. More and more private institutes coming up, no control on the quality of education. Why was this happening? Because the central idea of governments was that education has to be seen and controlled by the market. The central idea of governments was that education has to be seen as a profit motive, profit making space. Where when we go for education, when people go for getting degrees, that has to be channelized to the market. And why so? So that critical thinking can be dismantled from the space of education. So that scientific, rational thinking can be dismantled from the space of education. And I'll come to examples that why are we saying so? Because we have concrete examples at this moment through our experiences that how we are seeing in spaces of higher education. Today, when a student goes to IIT, today when a student goes to IIM, today when students goes to higher education institute, they're not thinking about whether they can get through those institutes. What they're thinking about the fee structure. They're thinking, even if I have the merit, even if I have the percentage, will I be even able to step into those institutes to get my degree? No. I need to take a loan. My parents need to take a loan. When they take those loans of 10 lakhs, 12 lakhs, they enter those universities. They're not thinking about education. They're only thinking about repaying those loans. Because they know back their home, their parents who are coming from majority of the working class community. Their parents have some aspirations, their family have some aspirations that they have put on the child. The child has to fulfill those. And how do they fulfill those? By repaying those loans. So those 4 years of BTech degrees, those 3 years of social science degrees, those 3 years and 5 years of MBBS, all they are doing is calculating the loans. How do they repay the loans of their parents? And while they are doing this, what they are only seeing education as a space where they can also become more and more, channelizing their inner ways of, rather than learning the subject or learning the subject as a space of improving the society, what their only agenda becomes is to how to make profit when they come out of the institute. How do they get a job that can give them profit? So when we are making the future generation, when we are having doctors, when we are having engineers, when we are having teachers in the coming days, we are not having them seriously having a positive thought of improving the society. एक टाइम पे ऐसा हुआ करता था, शिक्षा जब हमें मिलती थी तो हम इस बात को सोचते थे कि एक डॉक्टर बन रहे, एक इंजीनियर बन रहे, एक टीचर बन रहे, कोई भी क्षेत्र में जा रहा हो, कोई प्रोफेशनल डिग्री ले रहा है तो वो समाज के लिए काम करेगा. सिर्फ जॉब एक पार्ट होता है. एजुकेशन, वन एस्पेक्ट ऑफ एजुकेशन इज वी गेट jobs to make a living out of it. That is one aspect. Then the other larger aspect is we change generations, and that is what all of you have been doing. We change generations. क्योंकि आज हमारे सामने वो टीचर्स नहीं होते, आज हमारे सामने वो एम्प्लॉयज नहीं होते, तो शायद हम बहुत सारे लोग इस इंस्टीट्यूट से हम लोग पढ़ नहीं पाते. और उस इम्पोर्टेंस को हम समझते हैं कि our teachers have played an important role in our lives of changing our thought processes. And now when we are getting education, we see that has reduced to us only to profit making process. It has reduced where we as students are being every day told in our classrooms that you don't think about society. It's not your job. You don't think about what your fellow student is, what kind of discrimination they are facing. Don't think about the next door girl who is not able to come to school or colleges. Don't think about the dropouts. You just think about yourself. You just think about how you are going to repay the loans. You just think about how you are going to get the job, so that you don't talk about the problems inside this country. That was not the scene 30, 40 years ago. People used to think education as a space where that can uplift people's life, change people's life. And that is exactly was the core idea of education in India, especially when more than 70% of the people during the time of independence was in a space where they couldn't even access basic school education. They couldn't even access primary education, leave alone higher education. Post 1960s, we saw that how even stress was made on higher education, how more and more people started coming into higher education. But now what we see, that obviously there are colleges coming in, a lot of colleges coming in. We see students going for higher education, but they don't know what after higher education, the kind of quality of higher education that they are getting. Today, the kind of attack that we are facing of privatization, commercialization in educational institute. For example, the university that I come from, Jawaharlal Nehru University, the universities, Professor Rajiv is here, comes from Delhi University, and many other universities. I am very sure that other central universities, state universities in different states are facing the same. That we are continuously being told that if you need quality education, you need to pay more. So this idea that quality education has a total linkage with money, it has total linkage with finance, is continuously being seeped in through everyday understanding of us. And we are being told that if you want particular infrastructure inside your university, if you want labs in your university, if you want Wi-Fi in your university, you need to pay more. But what is being not told is that access to quality public education can only happen through the intervention of the state. It can only happen through governments understanding that how progressive and rational and scientific quality education and public education has to be. At this moment, the NEP clearly says that how education is no more the responsibility or the task of the government. It can be left alone to some NGOs, it can be left alone to some self-help groups, and exactly how comrades were saying that in school education, how it has been told that if there are 30 students, you don't need to think about schools, you just merge the school. What about that girl, what about that student who is walking 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers to reach the school, and the distance now increases to maybe 10, 15 kilometers? Do we still think that in a country like India, that education is still kept at a par like this? No. In a country where education is only a space where people only send people for educating because they can only get profit out of it, we need to make people more aware what is the importance of education. We need to have free, equitable, accessible, inclusive education. Because unless and until we bring people at par, how do we expect them to go towards education? Because we have seen this all throughout. कि जब आपने आपकी पूरी उम्र, अपनी उम्र अपने घर पे जो लोग हैं उनको देखा है काम करते हुए, उनका एक्सेस नहीं था एजुकेशन का, आपके मम्मी पापा आपके पास जो है उनको आपने कभी देखा ही नहीं एडुकेट होते हुए, तो उनका आपका अंडरस्टैंडिंग एजुकेशन के प्रति क्या होगा कि आपको सिर्फ काम करना है, आपको इमीडिएटली जॉब सेक्टर में एंड करना है। एजुकेशन वो इम्पोर्टेंट स्पेस हमारे ज़िंदगी में नहीं रखता है, उसको अगर रखवाना है, उसका इम्पोर्टेंस समझाना है तो उसका सरकार का इंटरवेंशन बहुत ज़रूरी होगा, जहाँ पे सरकार उसको वैसा इंक्लूसिव बनाए कि कोई भी एजुकेशन के प्रति आकर्षित होके आए। पहले उसको उस तरीके से बनाना है। और उसके लिए क्या पॉजिटिव इंटरवेंशंस था, व्हाट वर द पॉजिटिव इंटरवेंशंस थ्रू मूवमेंट्स दैट वर बिल्ट अक्रॉस दीज 75 years? मिड डे मील स्कीम्स, टू गिव टेक्स्ट बुक्स, टू गिव accesses of digital medium of education in classes. We saw recently during the pandemic time what happened when the government just suddenly one day came and told that we will have digital mode of education. Now the teachers were like in a shock that what is this going to happen? What is digital mode of education? Where are the access? Where is the infrastructure? We still know that those schools which float away in floods in Assam, in Bihar, when floods are happening, schools के छत नहीं होते हैं, schools बह जाते हैं, एक छत के नीचे 5 स्टूडेंट्स को शिक्षक पढ़ाते हैं। आप उन स्कूल्स के बारे में सोचिए जहाँ पे कोई इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर नहीं है, फिर भी वहाँ पे शिक्षक जाके हर दिन इस बात को इंश्योर करते हैं कि अगर 5 स्टूडेंट्स को भी पढ़ाएंगे तो पढ़ाएंगे, 5 जिंदगी को बदलना है हमें। और जब ये हालात है तब वो सरकार बेरहमी के तरह एक पैंडेमिक के बीच में आके बोल देता है कि आप डिजिटल मोड ऑफ एजुकेशन में, बिकॉज वी आर प्रोग्रेसिंग टुवर्ड्स डिजिटल इंडिया। What was the idea of digital India for a student who is not getting midday meal, who can't go back to their home and say their parents that they are hungry, even if they say they don't know how their parents will bring food for them or rice to their plates in midst of the pandemic? That was the condition. When teachers were hopeless, clueless, they didn't know that how will they face the class tomorrow, because it was a pandemic, schools were shut, they didn't know how to reach out to students. And what we saw, that so many students drop out of education. What we started seeing among the women girls, what we started seeing, more and more of domestic pressure, more and more of kind of like domestic discrimination, violence happening to them, and so many unreported because the teachers couldn't reach out to them, because the teachers didn't have a medium to reach out to them. Neither the students had a medium to come to school to reach out to their teachers and tell कि आई एम फेसिंग सच प्रॉब्लम्स, हाउ कैन आई एड्रेस। एंड ये जो 2-2.5 साल स्कूल्स बंद रहे, हमारी जो प्रिलिमिनरी थिंकिंग है, हमारी जो अंडरस्टैंडिंग है वो समाज के प्रति हो, एक दूसरे के प्रति हो, ये हम अपनी स्कूल से सीखते हैं, हम अपनी स्पेसेस सीखते हैं। एग्जैक्टली दैट हैपेंड विद हायर एजुकेशन व्हेन 2 years of college campuses were closed. When we come to these university spaces, we don't come here only for degrees, we learn with each other. Because when I did my school education, I was in Bengal. What I learned about the other state was all through my textbooks, was all through my understanding through internet or some medium. But when I came to JNU, when I came to DU, I learned those through my lived experiences. The student who was from the Northeast sitting beside me told me that how Northeast states are. And that is where I started first interacting with the student from the Northeast, and my shape about that place, my idea about those places, my idea about students coming from Kerala, my idea about students coming from Bihar changed. Because there are some stereotypical notions that are made by the society. Those stereotypes were broken in our classrooms. Those stereotypes about how students from the marginalized communities were broken in the classroom. And those 2 years of mine or any other student, college-going student, was taken away because of the pandemic. But what was the alternative that the government could give? Nothing. The government just came and brushed away the idea that you need to go for digital education. We didn't know how we will get laptops. We didn't know how we will get Wi-Fi connections. At this moment in this country, more than 60% people don't have digital infrastructure. In houses, we know, I have a sister, I remember still that initially she was in DU, she just passed out, and I will tell you from many of the experiences that we had one laptop and she didn't have a laptop. She had to do her classes, and I had my research work, we shared the laptop. She did her classes in the morning, I did my work in the evening. We couldn't. Many of the families would have far more worse situations where they couldn't even afford a phone, a smartphone at those times of pandemic to carry on the classes. So for months they were out of classes. They didn't know, the teachers in our universities didn't know where the students are, whether they are doing okay, what has happened during the pandemic, and we were clueless that what is happening. And in all these, what was bizarre was the propaganda that the government was trying to put in. No alternative schemes, to tell how to address the problems during the pandemic, no kind of scholarship to tell that you can go and buy laptops, you can afford some kind of digital infrastructure. And through the NEP, now that we see what they are trying to do and why did they decide to do it in a pandemic is very clear. I don't think so I need to explain that this government has been hell-bent on destroying the federal structure of this country. The government is hell-bent on destroying the democratic processes and spaces of this country, because they very well knew in 2019 when they were trying to introduce NEP in a way that campus spaces are opposing this, teachers are opposing this, employees are opposing this, students are opposing this. And students were down on the streets, teachers along with the employees, they were on the streets in thousands in number inside this national capital also to tell this government that if you try to, you dare to do so, we will be standing there taking your bullets. We don't fear, because education is an important part of us, and today where we stand here, it's just because of education that we get this strength to speak up. We get this strength, and we don't want that today the door was open for us. Today we believe that we could enter universities because people before us could fight for it. Today we believe that we can study, we can access higher quality education, higher education, because students before us fought for it. And that is why today it is responsibility on us that if we don't fight, the next generation, upcoming generation will ask us question that what was happening when NEP was coming, where were we standing? When this government was trying to bulldoze this kind of policies, privatize the education system, where were we? And that is with that responsibility of collective idea that we will be standing against this government's policy of privatizing of education. The other major aspects that higher education at this moment is facing that I will be just putting light on is the central university entrance test, which is, I think so all of us are aware, is going to bring a drastic problem. Already the problems have started happening. Entrances of the undergraduate programs are happening across the country, and all of you have seen through the news that how the NTA, the National Testing Agency, has failed to conduct examination. And the complaint today against the National Testing Agency is not for the first time. From the last few years, the government have slowly started giving up National Testing Agency certain examinations like the NEET, the JEE, the UGC exams and all. And when these were happening, we already saw that NTA was failing. We already saw the exam patterns had a problematic things. And now when they are having a central university entrance examination, there are 57,000 choices. We are being told there is no concrete data. We don't know how so many students have missed their admit cards because the admit cards came in the morning and they were asked to shift examination centers. So this is a chaos happening. But who is at the receiving end of this chaos? Is the Prime Minister at the receiving end of the chaos? Is the government at the receiving end of the chaos? No. The students are. Their future is. And nobody bothers. The UGC chairman, who was our former Vice Chancellor, who has been notoriously known for his anti-student policies, has now come up and said that we don't care. Literally, we don't care. We are not going to take retests. We don't care about your lives. Think of the students who have prepared for so many years, who have just waited for this one day to sit for examinations, to appear for CUET. How will their dreams get shattered? And tomorrow, if institutional murders and suicides are happening, this government will just brush down those numbers and say, we don't know why it happened. Aishwarya Reddy, it's still very fresh to the mind. One student of Lady Shri Ram College, who had to take her life because she couldn't afford a laptop, who couldn't put the burden on her families. She was from Telangana. She studied in Delhi, and it is a kind of institutional murder that she couldn't afford certain infrastructure and she had to die. So we can clearly see the 4 years undergraduate program that has been bulldozed. This is the same government This is the same political party in 2013 which opposed the FIUP. The other Congress was in power then, and now this government is bringing in FIUP. Multiple exit entry. Dropouts को आज के समय पे multiple exit entry का नाम दिया जा रहा है. आपको बोला जा रहा है कि आप पहले साल पढ़ेंगे, you will study in the first year, so you can take a diploma course. In the second year, if you are studying, then you can take one more certificate. If you study third year, you can take a bachelor's degree, and if you study 4 years total, you will get an honors. Now you tell me, in a country where we talk and interact with maximum of the students, even 3 years becomes difficult for them to continue in an education space because they are not getting scholarship. How will it be feasible for them to continue for 1 more year? 1 more year. And what is the option they are giving? That if you are doing political science, if you are doing English, if you are doing sciences, physics, study for 1 year, take the diploma course and go. You tell me, many of us who are students of whatever disciplines we are, एक साल में हम क्या English सीख लेंगे? एक साल में हम क्या साहित्य सीख लेंगे? एक साल में हम क्या फिजिक्स केमिस्ट्री सीख लेंगे कि हम जाके बाहर जॉब में काम कर पाए? It's exactly the model that they are saying. We shouldn't be happy about the US model of education where students are having to work along with education. We shouldn't be proud of something like this. ये हमारे दिमाग में घुसाया जा रहा है कि शिक्षा के साथ साथ अगर आप नौकरी करो तो ये अच्छी बात होती है. नहीं मानते हम लोग. हम मानते हैं कि शिक्षा के समय पे हमें शिक्षा पूरी तरीके से चाहिए. हमें ये चिंता ना करना पड़े कि 8 घंटा क्लास करने के बाद मैं स्टारबक्स में जाके कैसे काम कर पाऊँ, मैं डोमिनोज में जाके काम कर पाऊँ कैसे. नहीं, ये हमारा चिंता नहीं होना चाहिए. हमारा चिंता ये होना चाहिए कि 8 घंटे क्लास के बाद भी मैं 10 घंटे कैसे लाइब्रेरी में दे पाऊँ, मैं अच्छे से और कैसे रिसर्च कर पाऊँ, मैं 10 बुक्स एक्स्ट्रा कैसे पढ़ पाऊँ. ये हमारा चिंता होना चाहिए, ये हमारा भविष्य होना चाहिए. ना कि ये जो यूएस के मॉडल को यहाँ पे इम्पोज किया जा रहा है, साउथ कोरिया का मॉडल को यहाँ पे इम्पोज किया जा रहा है. जब भी हम बोलते हैं बाकी चीज़, जब हम स्कॉलरशिप की बात बोलते हैं, छात्रावास की बात बोलते हैं, तब तो पॉपुलेशन की बात आ जाती है बहुत आराम तरीके से. कितने सारे लोग हैं इस देश में, कैसे फिजिबल है. लेकिन ऑल्टरनेटिव पॉलिसीज बने हैं इस देश के अंदर, ऑल्टरनेटिव पॉलिसीज मॉडल्स इस देश के अंदर बना के दिखाया भी गया है. एंड दैट इज वेयर वी हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट द NEP which was supposed to recognize the gender-based, caste-based discriminations happening in the last 34 years. Is there any concrete data in the NEP जिससे हमें कुछ सीखने को मिला, जिससे हमें सीखने को मिला कि पिछले 34 साल में कितने सारे पिछले तबके से जो समुदाय के छात्राएं हैं कितना अपलिफ्ट हो पाए. अगर नहीं हो पाए उसका कारण क्या है? बार बार सरकार एक चीज बोल रही है. एवरी टाइम द गवर्नमेंट इज टॉकिंग अबाउट एनरोलमेंट रेशियो हैज इंक्रीज. ओके, आई एनरोल इनटू द यूनिवर्सिटी एंड देन आई ड्रॉप आउट, आई वैनिश. Did the government care that why as a student I had to enroll but I couldn't continue in my education? Was it a social reason? What was the economic reason? What was the reason that students are having to drop out? Did the government try to identify that problem? No. Unless and until we recognize and identify what the challenges are, how are we going to make a framework for the future? That is exactly where the problem of this NEP is. That they don't even recognize and identify and accept that there is a problem. They don't even recognize and identify that there is a problem. They are trying to promote that everything, like Modi ji bolte na, sab changa si. They are trying to say that everything is fine in this country. Digital education is fine. Everybody is having access to education. Everybody is having access to digital infrastructure. Everything is fine. But then it is our responsibility through our movements. It is our unity that is going to go to the streets in the coming days, or has been going in the last few years, to tell this government that you might have bought the media, you might have bought certain things inside. You might try to buy votes also, you might try to buy representatives also inside the parliament. But what in this democracy, what we believe in, it's by the people. It's for the people. And that's why when we believe in that, we will come down to the streets and undo all the anti-people policies that you are trying to bring into the parliament. And that is what the people of this country believe in, that in case this government, how it is going on, it is trying to privatize education, all of us, the teachers, the professors, in higher education, in employees, our staff, everyone, students, we will come together. Because today this fight is not only of the teachers separately, or the students separately, or the employees separately. When we talk about our university spaces, we are seeing that privatization is going to impact the working community, the employees, the staff, and the mess workers and everyone so much, that when they are privatizing the canteens. When they are privatizing the canteens, they are putting private people into it, private employees into it. And when they are putting private employees, what are happening? Their salaries are being cut down. And they can't unionize inside the universities. We used to see the trade unions were so strong inside our universities. Today we see, because they are private employees, they are fearing to unionize. Because if they unionize, they will be thrown out of the university spaces, and it has happened. They had to fight long legal battles, then to come back to the universities, and it's very difficult. जब आपका कमाई हर दिन के हिसाब से आपके घर पे आए, तो आपके लिए बहुत कठिन होता है कि आप अपने लीगल बैटल्स इतने साल से कर पाए। और इस डर को वो लोग यूटिलाइज कर रहे हैं कि ये तो घर चलाते हैं, दे तो रन द फैमिलीज, दे विल बी रनिंग फैमिलीज, इफ वी पुट देम आउटसाइड द यूनिवर्सिटी 2 days 3 days they will fight, but they have to find an alternate job, and so they will set an example in front of us so that nobody can speak up, so that we can speak up, the employees can't speak up, the teachers can't speak up. And that is why they're wanting ad hocs also, so that if you have permanent employees, then they will demand for pensions, they will demand for housing schemes, they will demand for healthcare benefits. And we have already seen in the past few years, even with the government sector, what this government has been doing. They have been taking away all benefits, they have been taking away all, I wouldn't say that as benefits also, those are basic minimum social security that you should be giving to citizens of this country who are working, but then they have totally gone on to the privatization mode, that where all PSUs, all government sectors are being bulldozed into private thing. Now coming short into this, with which I will be ending, what is the alternative policy in front of us then? That we are seeing in higher education spaces, when continuously NEP's onslaught is happening, we have fought this out. We have fought this out on the streets. We have seen in 2019 when 100%, more than 100% fee hike was imposed in our university, we could channelize a broader movement in the name of safe public education. Because in 2019 when the attack happened in JNU, we knew very well that the fee hike is not only about JNU, it's just an experiment. It's just an experiment to see whether if this works in a central university, then it will work everywhere. So we knew that a platform like Safe Public Education could bring all institutes together, like IITs, IIMs and everything, all central state universities, and we could speak that if today it is happening to our universities, tomorrow it is going to happen to yours. And we collectively speak against this government's policy of doing fee hikes by telling us that quality education can't be given through public education. We wanted to stress on saving our public education sector. A broader channel, a broader platform was an important intervention, and that happened also because of the left democratic progressive forces coming together and thinking of an alternative, that how movements have to be led is in a united fashion, in a united way against this fascist onslaught. Secondly, progressive admission policy is one of the key tools that we had already in many of the universities. But deprivation points were given for students who came from the marginalized community, who came from marginalized gender. उनको क्वार्टाइल डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स के हिसाब से, मतलब आप बताइए, छोटा सा एक उदाहरण, दिल्ली में जो अपना ग्रेजुएशन किया हो, बिहार में, बंगाल के अंदर मिदनीपुर में जिसने ग्रेजुएशन किया हो, वो दोनों एक नहीं हो सकते. मध्य प्रदेश के अंदर जो किया हो, गोंद में जो करके आया हो, उसका ग्रेजुएशन का डिग्री और दिल्ली में जो DU से पढ़ के आया उसका ग्रेजुएशन डिग्री, आप बताइए क्या सेम हो सकता है? उसका जो सोसाइटल अंडरस्टैंडिंग, जो उसको शिक्षा का इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर मिला है, क्या वो एक हो सकता है? तो अगर उसको एक करवाना है, अगर उसको सेंट्रल यूनिवर्सिटीज़ में और पहुंचाना है, उसे हायर एजुकेशन के लिए और प्रभावित करना है, तो क्या वे है प्रोग्रेसिव एडमिशन पॉलिसी, जहाँ पे हम डिप्रीवेशन पॉइंट से क्वार्टाइल डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स के हिसाब से, अगर कोई पिछड़े जिलाओं से आ रहे हैं उनको एक्स्ट्रा पॉइंट्स दिया जाए कि वो आज एक दिल्ली में जिसका एजुकेशन है उसके साथ भी आके इक्वली एक सेंट्रल यूनिवर्सिटी के अंदर अपना PhD, अपना MA कर पाए. तो ऐसे पॉलिसीज़ के साथ हमें अपनी एजुकेशन सिस्टम को इंक्लूसिव करना था. फिर रिजर्वेशन पॉलिसीज़ की जिस तरीके से हत्या हो रही है, ये क्यों चाह रहे कि प्राइवेट एजुकेशन इंस्टीट्यूट्स आए कि इनको रिजर्वेशन फॉलो ना कर पाए? क्योंकि पब्लिक एजुकेशन रहेगा, गवर्नमेंट एजुकेशन रहेगा, फिर तो आपको रिजर्वेशन पॉलिसी फॉलो करना पड़ेगा. और ये सरकार जो मनुवादी सोच लेके रहता है, ये मिड डे मील स्कीम्स में नॉनवेज का ना होना, ये पूरा ब्राह्मणिकल एटीट्यूड है, ये पूरा ब्राह्मणिकल अंडरस्टैंडिंग है, एकदम अंडरस्टैंडिंग है, जहाँ पे वो बोलने की कोशिश करे कि आपका खान पान क्या होगा ये स्टेट डिसाइड करेगा. और इसलिए कर्नाटक के अंदर जो 14 साल की लड़की अंजलि जब अपनी लड़ाई लड़ रही थी, तो वो उस बात को एग्जैक्टली बोल रही थी कि न्यूट्रिशन की जरूरत है, मिड डे मील स्कीम में न्यूट्रिशन की जरूरत है, और उसका कुछ भी हो सकता है न्यूट्रिशन, जिस जगह में जैसा खाना पीना है उसके आधार पे वो डिसाइड होगा. लेकिन इस फेडरल सिस्टम को एकदम खींच लेके, हम लोगों से छीन लेके वो अपना इम्पोजिंग कर रहे कि नहीं आपको तो शाकाहारी खाना ही खाना होगा। आपका फूड स्ट्रक्चर को हम नहीं मानते हैं, आपकी फूड चॉइसेस को हम नहीं मानते हैं। तो इन सारे जो पॉलिसीज को लाया जा रहा है ये कुछ नहीं है कि ये एक तरीके का जो कम्युनल एस्पेक्ट से इसको और बढ़ोतरी देना एजुकेशनल स्पेसेस में। और इस बात को हमें क्लियर नहीं समझना पड़ेगा कि इस सरकार का, आरएसएस का, बीजेपी का क्लियर अंडरस्टैंडिंग है कि एजुकेशन को अगर ये लोग हड़प नहीं सकते तो आने वाला जनरेशन को ये लोग कब्जा नहीं कर पाएंगे। और इसीलिए स्कूल एजुकेशन हो, हायर एजुकेशन हो, they want to just hijack school education and higher education because they know that education is the only tool with which you can change or mold minds. And if you have to capture the next generation, you have to capture education, and that is where this is one of the most important sector where we have to resist. Because we are seeing the continuous onslaught that they are trying to capture our educational spaces. They are trying to put in their cadres into our teaching spaces. They are trying to put in their cadres in our college professors. Why? So that they work as agents of RSS, they work as agents of Hindutva. Their work is not of that of imparting education to us. No. If we are thinking that, then we are in a wrong dilemma. Their idea is to grow the Hindutva culture in our classroom, to bring in the RSS's politics inside the classroom, to bring in divide and venom among the caste, creed, language, diversity that we celebrate today inside this country. And that is exactly as students, as employees, as teachers, as professors, as everyone part of this education system, we have to come together and resist that we celebrate this diversity that we have in this country. We celebrate the diversity of education that we celebrate in this country and the federal structure of education where we can have a national curriculum, obviously, but that curriculum can't come at the behest of destroying the federal structure where states have the power, the states have the decision making process, that how in local spaces we have to prepare the curriculum. तो ये हमारे पास एकदम तय होना चाहिए, हमारा अंडरस्टैंडिंग होना चाहिए कि आने वाले समय में कि जो सेंट्रलाइज्ड इम्पोजिशन को किया जा रहा है, बेसिक करिकुलम आप डिसाइड कर सकते हैं कि क्या गुणवत्ता मतलब इन सब की होगी, लेकिन केरल के अंदर कैसा शिक्षा का सब्जेक्ट्स होंगे, क्या होंगे, उनकी भाषाएं क्या होंगी, कर्नाटक के अंदर कैसा होगा, बिहार के अंदर कैसा होगा, यूपी के अंदर कैसा होगा, ये उनके जो स्टेट्स है वहाँ पे जो टीचर्स है, वहाँ का जो एजुकेशन स्ट्रक्चर है उसको डिसाइड करने की हक है, उनका राइट है और उनको करना भी चाहिए। तो ये सारी चीज़ें हैं। और साथ साथ इस समय पे जिस तरीके से टीचर्स पे अटैक है, चाहे वो यूनिवर्सिटी हायर एजुकेशन के अंदर हो, हम लोग देख रहे हैं कि टीचिंग पोजीशंस पे जो अटैक है, अगर कोई आज के समय पे बातें रख रहे हैं, इस सरकार के पॉलिसीज़ के खिलाफ बात रख रहा है, तो जिस तरीके से अटैक हो रहा है, तो हम मानते हैं कि हमारी ये लड़ाई हमारी शिक्षकों से अलग नहीं है। हम मानते हैं कि आज हम लोग इस यूनिवर्सिटी स्पेसेस में, हायर एजुकेशन में हैं क्योंकि हमारे जो शिक्षक है वो हम एजुकेशन दे पा रहे इसलिए है। कल वो नहीं रहेंगे, हम नहीं रहेंगे, तो यूनिवर्सिटी स्पेसेस नहीं बचेगा जो ये सरकार का एक्चुअल गोल है। तो इसलिए ये लड़ाई एक साथ ही लड़ी जा सकती है और हमारा पूरा आशा है स्टूडेंट्स फेडरेशन ऑफ इंडिया के तरफ से, यहाँ से JNU स्टूडेंट्स यूनियन की तरफ से आप सभी को बहुत बहुत सॉलिडारिटी एक्सटेंड करते हुए कि जो लड़ाई आप लोग लड़ रहे हैं, हम लोग लड़ रहे हैं, ये लड़ाई हमारी अकेले की लड़ाई नहीं है, ये लड़ाई हम लोग एक साथ लड़ेंगे। और ये निश्चित है कि जिस तरीके से ये सरकार कोशिश कर रहा है कि हमारी जो एकता है इसको तोड़ा जाए, इस एकता को तो वो तोड़ नहीं पाएंगे, ये निश्चित है। लेकिन हम एक ऑल्टरनेटिव पॉलिसी का बात हम हर एक इंसान तक पहुंच पाए, उसका प्रोपेगेंडा मशीनरी हम खुद को बढ़ना पड़ेगा। कि केरल में जो ऑल्टरनेटिव पॉलिसी है सिर्फ केरल की बात नहीं है, वो एक लेफ्ट डेमोक्रेटिक प्रोग्रेसिव फोर्स का एक ऑल्टरनेटिव पॉलिसी है। और वो पॉलिसी अगर हमारे लोग आएंगे ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा सिस्टम में तो एक ऑल्टरनेटिव पॉलिसी बनेगा। इसका जो प्रोपेगेंडा है वो हमें ले जाना पड़ेगा और ये निश्चित है कि हम ले जा रहे हैं और ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा लोगों को, छात्राओं को आने वाले समय में हम लोग अपने प्लेटफॉर्म से जोड़ेंगे और इस बात को सुनिश्चित करेंगे कि आरएसएस और बीजेपी का जो एजेंडा है इसको हम लोग ध्वस्त करें। हम लोग सड़क पे आके हमें लड़ना पड़े, कितना डंडे खाने पड़े, लाठी खाने पड़े, उससे हम लोग नहीं डरते हैं। हम आरएसएस बीजेपी से नहीं डरते क्योंकि हम लोगों की इतिहास है। हमारा इतिहास माफीनामा लिखने का नहीं है, फिर से हमारा इतिहास है लड़ाई करने का। और इस लड़ाई के आह्वान के साथ STFI को फिर से बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया, लाल सलाम और क्रांतिकारी अभिनंदन पेश करते हुए मैं अपना बात खत्म करूंगी। और आने वाले समय में आशा रखते हैं कि वी विल यूनाइटेडली फाइटिंग अगेंस्ट दिस फैसिस्ट फोर्सेस एंड टेक देम बैक डाउन टू देयर हिस्ट्री वेयर दे हैव आस्क्ड फॉर apologies and make sure that they ask for apology in the coming future from the citizens of this country. Inqilab Zindabad. Chhatra, students, Teachers unity, long live. Workers unity, long live. Thank you.